Yeah, welcome, all out there in digital world. Yeah, welcome. This is another episode with Mr. Cruz. You see, yeah, you see. And in honor of Scarcity, we'll be doing a few of our favorite gangster quotes. Yeah.
I make you an offer you can't refuse.
Forget about it. You'll never take me alive, copper.
Say hello to my little friends.
All right. So, as we all know, this is not Scar City. This is not one of the new Grand Theft Auto titles. This is Scarcity. Okay, Scarcity. And what we'll be talking about today is scarcity and several other principles that affect or are affected by supply and demand. Um, so, when demand is greater than supply, that is your scarcity. It's not that it's just a lack of supply, okay? Because there could be a low quantity of something, and that doesn't necessarily mean people want it. Imagine a cutout of a giant life-size cutout of Adolf Hitler. I doubt there are a lot of people who really want that. Um, so just because there is a low supply of it doesn't mean it's scarce, because there's no demand for it. Um, So scarcity is more specifically than just a low supply. It's when the demand is much greater than the supply. Uh, Relative scarcity. Prices are determined on how scarce a good is compared to other goods. For example, let's say gold. Uh, if gold, there's a lot of gold. Okay, gold is expensive and costs a lot because there is less gold than, let's say, steel or iron, or even go more rare like copper. Um, there's less gold, and so since gold is there is less of it than there are these other metals, it costs more than these other metals. So that is how relative scarcity. Even though there's a lot of gold, on Earth. All right, a surplus. A surplus is when supply is greater than demand. When you have a lot of something, but nobody really wants it. Uh, Surplus equals lower prices, and a shortage equals higher prices. So the more of something and the more you have and the lower the demand, the lower your price is going to be. And the higher your demand and lower your quantity, the higher your price is going to be. And we saw this last time when we discussed our chart that looked like that, and you talking about supply and demand. Competition during surpluses and shortages always drive prices back to equilibriums. Remember, that was that point in which our lines crossed, um, that we got to see that equilibrium, and everything drives trying to hit that equilibrium. Production. Production affects both supply and demand. The process of adding value to a resource. Okay, if I have a resource and I turn that resource into something more valuable. For instance, if I have gold, that gold might be worth, let's just say, $30 for the little bit of gold I have. But now I turn that gold into a fancy gold necklace, and let's say it's now worth $150. Okay, so the production adds value to a resource, and it uses your three factors of production: land, labor, and capital. Okay, opportunity cost. It's the value of the most beneficial alternative you have given up. Okay, so let's say I am going to, or I have some meat, and I decide I'm going to make burgers. All right. Well, I made burgers out of my meat. I could have made a steak, or I could have made sausage, you know. So these are the opportunities I gave up, and I'm not using something that's value at, but um, these are the things I gave up. Those were the opportunity costs of me making deer burgers versus me making deer sausage or deer steak or something like that. Efficiency. Efficiency reached when there is an optimal ration between the cost and benefit of resources used to produce. Okay, so this is whenever I'm using the exact amount. I have no waste. There is, no labor's wasted, no materials are wasted. There's no extra product. I am producing everything perfectly. Okay, and to have 100% efficiency is pretty much a dream world. But you can get, very high efficiency ratings. Um, and you see this on a lot of things that we consume as well. They give efficiency ratings to, uh, by how well they, make use of the electricity they take or so forth. And one way to increase efficiency is by increasing the availability of the factors of production. I can be more efficient if I have more of this, and I can produce and make, and I have more resources to use in order to apply to my process. Think of some ways that this has been done throughout history. People go in and they take other people's resources. This is what a lot of wars and a lot of things were fought over, uh, especially in early history. People they had so many resources in their area, and it's like, hey, they got some nice resources. Let me go take their resources. They got some good farmland. I'm gonna go take their farmland. So uh, this has been done throughout history. The wealth effect. Um, Consumers need money to buy things. The more money you have, the more you tend to buy. If you've ever heard somebody might actually say, you tend to live at your means, which means that, or above your means. You know, I might take a job where I make $50,000 more a year, and I'm going to, within a short period of time, and now there's always exceptions, I'm going to move up till I'm living at that extra $50,000 a year. I'm going to wind up spending it on different things. People tend to do that. The more you make, the more you tend to spend on different things. Money can breed an appetite for consumption. Whenever you're young, you live on a whole lot less. Like whenever you're in college and you're struggling, you might live on $100, $200 a month. By the time you're grown and you have a family, you're living on $1,000, $2,000 a month. Normal goods, goods that people buy more of as their wealth increases. Okay, and these are like your specific brands, and this isn't your cheap brand or your cheap type of good. You know, let's say I get a lot more money. Well, I start buying some Jordans instead of buying, Walmart shoes. And then inferior goods, goods that people buy less of as their wealth increases. Um, I once went shopping with somebody I knew, and they came from a wealthy family, and they said, went to buy a specific brand. I went to buy the, the local brand, Great Value, or actually it was the Brookshire brand, and they looked at me and said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I'm buying some oatmeal." And they said, "But that's poor people food." And so, see, people tend to, the more money you have, you buy less of the inferior goods, which are usually your cheaper brands, your knockoff brands, or your knockoffs of, your fancy brands. Inferior goods can substitute for normal goods. So those who don't have a lot of the money tend to buy more of the inferior goods. Limiting the wealth effect. Decreasing marginal utility. Now, this is an interesting concept. This is also known as diminishing returns, and this is actually I was uh, taught when I was taught economics. I was taught as diminishing returns, and it's the decrease in the amount of satisfaction added as each new unit is consumed. Let's say I am going to go eat some ice cream, and I start off and I eat one cone of ice cream. Man, that was so good. All right, man, that was so good. I think I want another one. And so I eat another ice cream. Man, that still was really good. Man, I could eat another one. All right, I eat this one. Well, I'm not quite as happy as I was with the first two, but it was still good. So I'm gonna eat another one, and I'm gonna slowly be less happy with each one until I reach a point in which, oh, now, man, I feel horrible. Man, I'm eating this ice cream. I've done made myself sick. Okay, and that is how diminishing returns. So there's a point that you reach so that you're no longer getting the value that you got out of that first one or that second one or that third one, and to where you're actually losing value. It's not worth near as much, and your utility or your happiness with this item is constantly going down because you've taken in so much of this item. And there are also budget constraints, limits on a person's ability to spend money. You might not have the money. You might have an issue. You had to get a new car or something went wrong with your car. So man, you had to pull back your money, and you can't spend on the name brand stuff like you normally do, the normal goods. So you switch to buying some of the inferior goods. Fungibility and elasticity. Fungibility when all units of a good are the same as each other. For example, gasoline. Okay, if I go buy gas, let's say I buy the regular unleaded gas from the Shell station, is pretty much the same thing as if I go buy it from the Chevron station. So producers don't like this fact of fungibility because they can't distinguish their product from anyone else's. And I might pull into the Chevron station one day and buy their gas. I might pull into the Shell station the next day and buy their gas. There's nothing that draws me to uh, one particular one. Usually it's price. Um, so this fungibility is something that producers really don't care about, but there are some things that you just can't get away with, it not being fungible because that's what this good is required to be. Um, Elasticity. This is the flexibility of a consumer's demand for a good or service. Uh, if it's inelastic, if the price goes up and the demand does not change, okay? For example, your bills. A lot of your bills are probably going to be inelastic. Your cell phone bill. I think a few years ago, they changed from data plans from being unlimited to where you actually have to pay more per month for them. Well, a lot of time, uh, this has gone up, but you got to have a data plan to have a smartphone. So the demand hasn't really changed. And this gets more particular in like electricity or gas or, you know, gas. A lot of times it goes up. Uh, but you still have to drive to work or you still have to drive to school or different places. So the demand stays high regardless if the price is going up or down. But if it's elastic, the demand rises and falls with price. So if the price is going up, well, the demand's going to go down. Uh, and you can pick a lot of different things that this works with. For example, let's say uh, McDonald's takes their Big Mac and they raise the price on it to $10. There's going to be a lot less people buying the Big Mac. Okay. But let's say they take their Big Mac and they run a sale to where you buy two Big Macs for $1. There's going to be a lot more people buying Big Macs. So this is an elastic good. This is something that uh, is more of a want than a need. And usually that's what ties this into is inelastic is usually things that you need, and elastic are usually things that you want. And then there's individual and public goods. An individual good, one person can enjoy that good or service. It's something that I can specifically enjoy. My car, I enjoy that. No one else does unless I ask them to. I can exclude people from enjoying it, or I can invite others, but it's mine to control. A public good is a non-excludable. That means I can't keep you out of it. Let's say a park. I can't keep you out of the park because it's a public good. And it's a non-rival good. There's nothing that challenges a park. The park is there. You use it, you don't. It's not in direct competition with per se another park. And we're talking about like the park with a bench and trees, maybe a swing or something. Um, this means it's not regulated by supply and demand. So until next time, deuces.